Ever felt like your body was, I don't know, sending you subtle messages? Maybe that lingering fatigue that just won't lift, or maybe a persistent twitch in your eye. That muscle spasm that seems to come out of absolutely nowhere. What if those little signals were actually pointing to something far more fundamental, something crucial for nearly every cell in your body? Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into an absolute powerhouse of a mineral. It's vital for everything, from your heart and brain right down to your muscles. It's so foundational, really, some even call it the MVP of minerals. Of course, we're talking about magnesium. Our mission for you in this deep dive is to really understand how essential this often overlooked nutrient is. We want to uncover the hidden ways its deficiency might be impacting you, and, most importantly, equip you with practical, actionable ways to optimize your levels.
Yeah, and to guide us, we've pulled insights from a really wide array of sources. Everything from foundational research on magnesium's intricate cellular functions to quite recent studies revealing its profound impact on chronic conditions. It's quite remarkable, actually, how the scientific conversation around magnesium has really surged in recent years. It highlights, its increasing recognition as a truly vital nutrient.
So let's really get into this then. When we talk about how important magnesium is,
Yeah.
what makes it so incredibly central to our health? I've heard it's like really abundant in the body, but just how foundational are we talking?
That's a great question, and you're right to ask. Consider this. Magnesium is the fourth most abundant mineral in your body, and here's the truly astonishing part. It plays a role in over 600 different biochemical reactions. 600. Its importance really stems from its fundamental role right at the molecular level. You could almost think of magnesium as a kind of molecular choreographer. Recent research has actually captured images showing how precisely magnesium aligns molecules for efficient energy production right inside your cells. It enhances overall cellular energy metabolism.
So it's like directing traffic for energy.
Exactly. Without magnesium, this intricate dance for making ATP, that's your body's energy currency, it just can't happen as efficiently. It's also required for increasing both the number and the efficiency of mitochondria in your cells, your cellular power plants.
That's an incredible number, 600 reactions.
Mm-hmm.
Are there particular reactions or systems where its absence is most immediately felt, or maybe catastrophically felt, beyond just the energy side of things?
Absolutely. While energy is definitely primary, it's also deeply involved in the metabolism of other vital nutrients. Things like calcium, potassium, zinc, even activating many enzymes and thiamine. It helps regulate blood sugar and insulin sensitivity, which is just paramount for preventing type 2 diabetes. And it also relaxes blood vessels, which helps to normalize blood pressure. Plus, it aids in detoxification, including the synthesis of glutathione, which is widely considered your body's most powerful antioxidant.
Okay, so given its huge involvement in so many processes, it really begs an important question. If it's this vital, why is magnesium deficiency so incredibly common?
It is a bit of a puzzle, isn't it? Some data from back in 2011 showed that a staggering 45% of American adults don't even get the recommended dietary allowance.
Almost half.
Almost half. And for teenagers, ages 14 to 18, it's even more concerning. Nearly 92% fail to meet the estimated average requirement just from food alone.
92%. Wow.
Yeah, and that likely links back to a general lack of fresh vegetables in, modern diets.
Right. So it's one thing to know it's vital, but how does this invisible deficiency, as you called it, manage to hide from us? I've heard that a routine blood test isn't always the best indicator.
That's absolutely correct, and it's precisely why it's often dubbed the invisible deficiency. You see, only about 1%, just 1% of your body's total magnesium is actually found in your bloodstream.
Only 1%.
Mm-hmm. The vast majority, well over 90%, is stored away in your bones and organs. So you can be significantly deficient without a typical blood test ever showing it.
Okay, that makes sense. So if blood tests aren't reliable, what's the best way for someone listening to recognize they might be falling short? What are the key signs and symptoms we should be looking out for?
Right. Well, connecting this to the bigger picture, the best approach is really to carefully evaluate and track the signs and symptoms of insufficiency in your own body. Common indicators include muscle spasms, those really annoying Charlie horses in your calves, or maybe persistent eye twitches. Those are classic examples.
I've had those eye twitches. They're maddening.
They really are. You might also experience things like seizures, numbness, or tingling in your arms or legs, insulin resistance, high blood pressure, heart arrhythmias, or even coronary spasms. Other signs, maybe a bit more subtle but still important, are low energy, unexplained fatigue, maybe a loss of appetite, and an increased number of headaches or even migraines.
Okay, quite a list. And what puts us at higher risk for this hidden deficiency? It feels like modern life kind of conspires against us sometimes.
It often does, unfortunately. It's deeply intertwined with our modern lifestyle choices. A primary factor is definitely a diet rich in processed foods, especially since magnesium resides right at the center of the chlorophyll molecule. That means leafy greens are absolutely key to getting enough.
Right, it always comes back to real food, doesn't it? Those leafy greens. What else can contribute to lower levels?
Well, beyond diet, frequently drinking carbonated beverages can really hinder absorption. The phosphates in them actually bind to magnesium.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and consuming refined sugar also increases magnesium excretion from your body, so it's a double whammy there. Other significant risk factors include chronic stress, a big one, lack of consistent quality sleep, heavy sweating like with intense exercise, regular alcohol consumption, and also the use of certain prescription drugs, particularly diuretics, statins, and fluoride-containing medications can deplete levels.
Wow.
Even things like elevated insulin levels or poor kidney function can lead to further magnesium loss. It can create this kind of self-perpetuating cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. So considering all these factors, what does magnesium deficiency, even at those subclinical sort of hidden levels, truly mean for our overall well-being? Let's maybe start with cardiovascular health. That's such a concern for so many people.
Right. Well, magnesium has actually been identified in some research as potentially the greatest predictor of heart disease.
The greatest predictor.
That's what some studies suggest. It supports heart health through various mechanisms. It combats inflammation. It helps prevent the hardening of your arteries by actively reducing calcification.
Calcification, okay.
It improves blood flow by relaxing arteries, and it helps prevent blood from thickening, allowing it to flow more smoothly. Studies consistently show that higher magnesium intake is associated with a lower risk of coronary heart disease, stroke, and overall mortality. And what's more, magnesium acts as a natural calcium channel blocker. Now, this is significant because excess calcium inside cells, when it's unmodulated by enough magnesium, is thought to be a primary contributor to many chronic diseases.
That's a really powerful connection to heart health. Are there specific mechanisms there that are most surprising or maybe newly understood by researchers? And thinking about another big area of concern today, what about the brain and mental well-being?
Well, the surprising aspect for the heart is really its multi-pronged attack on disease. It's not just one single pathway, it hits several. As for the brain, magnesium is absolutely critical for optimal brain function and mental health. Low levels are directly linked to migraines, for example, and supplementation has even been shown in some cases to help abort an attack that's already in progress. It also plays a significant role in things like anxiety, depression, and panic attacks by influencing key neurotransmitters like serotonin and inhibiting stress responses.
So it helps calm the system down.
In a way, yes. It also helps preserve nerve signal transmission, maintain the integrity of the crucial blood-brain barrier, and supports synaptic plasticity, that's the brain's ability to adapt and form new connections, which is vital for learning and memory. And magnesium threonate, specifically, is a form that seems to have superior absorbability, and importantly, it can cross that blood-brain barrier, potentially benefiting brain health more directly.
Okay, magnesium threonate. We should remember that one. Now, I know many people are also concerned about bone health, and they often focus almost solely on calcium. What's magnesium's role there? Is it, like, equally important?
Oh, absolutely. It might even be argued it's foundational. While calcium often gets most of the attention, roughly 60% of your body's magnesium is actually stored right in your bones.
60%. Wow.
Yes. It contributes directly to bone density and structure. It stimulates osteoblasts, those are the cells that build bones, and it suppresses osteoclasts, which are the cells that break down bones. Without adequate magnesium, bones can lose their stiffness and resilience, significantly increasing the risk of osteoporosis, and not just in older people, but even in younger adults.
So it really is a universal player in the body. What's the biggest misconception people have about its role, particularly when it comes to metabolism and something as widespread as diabetes?
I think the biggest misconception might be underestimating its direct impact on insulin sensitivity. Magnesium is absolutely vital for regulating blood sugar. Estimates suggest nearly half of all diabetics are actually magnesium deficient. Yes, and low magnesium levels can definitely exacerbate insulin resistance, which we know is a key precursor to type 2 diabetes. Furthermore, studies suggest magnesium plays a protective role in liver health too, potentially guarding against damage caused by common toxins like, say, acetaminophen. It seems to do this partly by influencing beneficial gut bacteria. And there's even a really compelling hypothesis that optimal magnesium levels could help limit the damage caused by exposure to electromagnetic fields, or EMFs.
EMFs, how would that work?
Well, the idea is that it works by essentially blocking something called voltage-gated calcium channels. Think of them as tiny gates on your cells that EMFs might be able to force open, leading to cellular stress. Magnesium might help keep those gates properly regulated.
That's a fascinating connection, EMFs and cellular stress. Hey, so if magnesium is this essential, and clearly so many of us are likely deficient, how can we make sure we're getting enough? What are the practical steps people listening can take?
Well, the ideal way is always going to be through your diet, if possible. Dark leafy greens like spinach, Swiss chard, kale, they really lead the pack in magnesium content.
The usual suspects.
The usual healthy suspects. Other rich sources include things like raw cacao nibs.
Oh, good news for chocolate lovers.
Yes, the raw stuff. Also avocados, various seeds and nuts like pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, fatty fish like salmon or mackerel, a wide array of herbs and spices, and even certain fruits like papaya and raspberries have decent amounts. However, and this is a big however, because many soils are now magnesium depleted due to modern agricultural practices, and also because cooking and processing can further reduce content, the reality is most people likely benefit significantly from supplementation.
Right, that makes sense. So let's talk about supplementation then. What kind of dosages are we looking at, and what's the best way to approach it, especially for someone new to taking magnesium? Because there seems to be a really wide range of recommendations out there.
There is a wide spectrum, you're right. The official recommended dietary allowance, the RDA, is somewhere around 310 to 420 milligrams per day. That depends on your age and sex. But many researchers and clinicians believe we actually need significantly more than that for optimal health. Some suggest maybe 600 to 900 milligrams daily.
Okay, that's quite a jump already.
It is. And others, factoring in things like the modern burden of EMF exposure we just talked about, propose amounts as high as 1 to 2 grams per day. That's 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams.
Wow, okay. That's quite a range, from maybe 300 up to 2,000. How does someone figure out their personal ideal dose if there's such a wide spectrum? It sounds like it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all situation.
It's definitely not. But there's actually a simple and pretty effective way for figuring out your tolerance with oral supplementation. It's often called the bowel tolerance method.
Bowel tolerant. Okay.
Yeah. You start with a modest dose, say 200 milligrams of oral magnesium citrate per day. Magnesium citrate is often used for this because it tends to have a laxative effect at higher doses. Then you gradually increase your dose, maybe by about 100 or 150 milligrams every few days, until you develop slightly loose stools.
Oh, okay.
That slight change indicates you've reached your individual cutoff point, basically your body's saturation point for that form. Any excess magnesium is simply flushed out.
So your body tells you when you've had enough.
Exactly. And you can take your determined dose in evenly divided amounts throughout the day, say half in the morning, half at night. Once you determine your ideal dose using magnesium citrate, you can then, if you prefer, switch to other forms of magnesium if you find the citrate form may be a bit too laxative for daily use.
That's a very practical approach. Find your limit, then maybe back off slightly or switch forms. And speaking of forms, what's the preferred form of supplement if someone wants to go beyond magnesium citrate once they found their dose? You mentioned threonate earlier for the brain.
Yes, my personal preference, based on the research available, is magnesium threonate. It really does appear to be the most efficient at penetrating cell membranes. That includes your mitochondria, which helps with energy production, and critically, it crosses the blood-brain barrier.
Right.
And this is why it's especially recommended if you struggle with things like headaches, migraines, maybe memory issues or brain fog, as it has been shown to help improve cognitive function directly.
Okay, good to know. Are there other ways to boost magnesium besides taking pills? Perhaps for those who maybe don't like swallowing supplements or might be sensitive to the laxative effect even at lower doses.
Absolutely, yeah. And these methods can be quite effective, and they nicely bypass the digestive system's potential laxative effects entirely. Taking Epsom salt baths is an excellent way. Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate. Magnesium is known to absorb quite effectively through your skin.
So a relaxing bath can actually boost your magnesium.
It can, yes. You can also create a topical solution yourself. Just dissolve about 7 tablespoons of Epsom salt into maybe 6 ounces of hot water. Let it cool completely, then transfer it to a dropper bottle. Then you can just apply it directly to your skin. Some people find rubbing in fresh aloe vera gel afterwards helps with absorption and maybe feels nicer on the skin.
Interesting, the DIY magnesium oil, essentially. And finally, what about balancing magnesium with other key nutrients? You mentioned calcium earlier, and we often hear about vitamins D and K2 as well. It sounds like it's part of a bigger team effort. Is there an ideal balance we should aim for?
Yes, this balance is absolutely crucial. These nutrients, magnesium, calcium, vitamin K2, and vitamin D, they all work synergistically in your body. They depend on each other. Now, while the ideal ratio between magnesium and calcium is generally thought to be somewhere around 1 to 1, the reality is most people get far more calcium from their diet, especially with fortified foods and dairy, than they do magnesium. Therefore, your need for supplemental magnesium might actually be 2 to 3 times greater than any calcium supplement you might take, just to achieve that proper balance.
2 to 3 times more magnesium than calcium, potentially.
Potentially, yes, depending on your diet. Also, it's really important to remember that magnesium is actually required for the activation of vitamin D in your body. So if you have inadequate magnesium levels, your vitamin D supplements might not even be effective. You need magnesium to flip the switch on vitamin D.
Wow, okay, that's huge.
It is. And regarding K2, a general guideline is for every 1,000 IUs of vitamin D3 you take, you may benefit from about 100 to 200 micrograms of vitamin K2. Specifically, the MK7 form is often recommended. But really, with vitamin D, it's always best to get your levels tested, maybe twice a year, to determine your personal optimal dosage. It varies a lot between individuals.
That makes sense. Test, don't guess. Well, we've truly taken a thorough deep dive into the world of magnesium today. We've uncovered its vast importance, the surprising prevalence of its deficiency, and the incredible ripple effect it has on nearly every system in your body. It's really clear it's a mineral that deserves far more attention than it typically gets.
Indeed it does. While it's often an unsung hero, optimizing your magnesium status, whether that's through smart dietary choices or strategic supplementation, or even those alternative methods like Epsom salt baths, it holds immense potential. Potential for protecting your health, boosting your energy, and supporting longevity. It's really a foundational piece of the health puzzle, wouldn't you say? Deeply tied to so many aspects of modern well-being.
Absolutely. So here's a final thought for you, the listener, to consider. Given magnesium's critical role as the body's molecular choreographer, influencing everything from your energy production and DNA integrity to your brain health and how you handle stress, what small change might you make starting today to bring this vital mineral into better balance in your life? Could addressing this common yet often invisible deficiency be the simple key, perhaps, to unlocking a whole new level of well-being?